There are moments in life when you think you understand someone, until one quiet moment proves you never really did. You think their silence means they don't care. You think their distance means they've checked out. You think their calm face means they feel nothing at all. But sometimes the quietest person in the room is the one fighting the loudest battle inside their own mind. Sometimes the one who walks away isn't escaping you. They're escaping the storm inside themselves. And when you're dealing with an avoidant, that storm has been there long before you arrived. You don't see the tremble in their chest when emotions rise. You don't hear the noise in their head when closeness gets too real. You only see the surface, the stillness, the quiet, the space they suddenly need. But beneath that silence is a nervous system on high alert, a heart that wants to connect but fears losing itself, a person who learned early in life that love can feel like pressure and closeness can feel like danger. And if you've ever wondered why they pull back just when the bond starts to deepen, the truth is simple but heartbreaking. They are not running from you. They are running from the version of themselves that once had no protection at all. Until you understand that, every move they make will confuse you. But once you do, everything starts to make sense. When people talk about avoidance, they rush toward assumptions without ever stopping to understand what is truly happening underneath. Most assume that distance means someone is not interested, or that silence automatically means emotional emptiness. But the truth is far more layered, much more human, and sometimes painfully misunderstood. Avoidants are not cold, they are guarded. They are not heartless, they are careful. They do not pull away because they do not feel anything. Ironically, they pull away because they feel more than they know how to manage without losing control. And the moment you start to understand that deeper reality, the moment you learn how their emotional design was formed, you begin to see why certain words, tones, and approaches slip through their defenses and reach them in ways nothing else can. An avoidant person's emotional armor does not begin in adulthood. It starts many years earlier, usually during childhood, and often without big dramatic events. Sometimes the home was safe, but emotionally inconsistent. Sometimes the adults around them were physically present yet emotionally distant. Sometimes they received subtle messages like, "Stay strong, stop crying, don't be too emotional, or handle things yourself," and a child absorbs those messages quietly. They learn that expressing their feelings does not bring closeness. Instead, it brings discomfort, conflict, or disapproval. So they reduce the emotional space they allow themselves to have. They learn that vulnerability is risky, not rewarding. They learn that self-reliance is not just good, but essential. As they grow older, these early lessons harden into automatic survival responses. By the time they reach adulthood, they cling to independence the way someone else might cling to security. It becomes their shield, their comfort zone, and their safe territory. They learn to manage everything inside themselves because depending on others never felt reliable. Even though they may secretly want deep connection, the moment someone gets too close too quickly, those old emotional alarms turn on. What you see as them backing away is actually them trying to regulate internal overwhelm. What you interpret as indifference is often their fear of losing themselves under someone else's emotional weight. This is the part almost everyone misunderstands. Avoidants are not running away from you. They are running from emotions they never learned how to hold safely. They are avoiding the version of themselves that felt pressured, unseen, or responsible for too much. They fear repeating old emotional patterns where closeness was tied to discomfort or expectation. They fear being trapped in someone else's emotional world without enough space to breathe. Their avoidance is not directed at you as a person. It's a protective strategy built long before you entered the picture. And psychology gives this a name. Avoidants rely on something called deactivating strategies. These are automatic, unconscious habits that reduce emotional closeness when it feels too intense. It might appear as them suddenly needing space after a deep conversation. It might show up as them switching to logic the second emotions rise. It might come out as an inner story like, "I should back off," or "they don't really need me," or maybe "they're better without me." None of these are attempts to sabotage the connection. They are attempts to protect their own emotional balance. It is their nervous system doing what it was trained to do long before adulthood. Yet here is the paradox that complicates everything. Avoidants secretly desire closeness just as much as anyone else. They simply want it from a distance that does not overwhelm them. They want to be loved, but not consumed. They want to feel supported, but not smothered. They want deep connection, but not the kind that demands they surrender their sense of self. And if you pay close attention, you'll see them constantly walking the tightrope between wanting closeness and fearing it, leaning in, pulling back, opening up, shutting down. It is not that they are inconsistent, it is that they are conflicted. Their deepest needs crash into their deepest fears. So why does understanding all of this matter? Because when you see the emotional blueprint behind their behavior, everything changes. You stop reacting emotionally to their reactions. You stop feeling rejected by their silence. You stop matching their distance with your own distance. Instead, you start responding in a way that fits their nervous system instead of triggering it. You stop using emotional intensity, pressure, demands, and heavy expectations as tools for connection. Because for avoidance, those things do not build closeness. They activate alarms. And when those alarms go off, they retreat further, not because they want to, but because their emotional survival instincts tell them they must. What actually reaches an avoidant is something completely different: calmness, clarity, and emotional spaciousness. Words that invite instead of demand. Words that reassure without crowding. Words that show strength without pressure. When they sense that you are steady, not reactive, something inside them begins to soften. When they see that your presence does not come with emotional weight, guilt, or urgency, their nervous system relaxes. And in that relaxed state, they can actually hear you. They can actually trust you. They can actually begin opening up in small, meaningful ways. And yes, avoidance can open up beautifully, deeply, and consistently, just not when they feel rushed, pushed, cornered, or expected to bond on someone else's timeline. They open when they feel respected, when they feel safe, when they feel like their boundaries are honored instead of interpreted as rejection, when they feel they have room to breathe, to think, to feel at their own pace. That is when their inner alarms go quiet. That is when their emotional armor loosens. That is when the real connection begins to grow, slowly, subtly, but honestly. So, before trying to say the perfect sentence or pick the perfect moment to reach an avoidant person, understand the real foundation of everything you are hoping to build. Their avoidance is not the enemy. It's an old solution, a survival pattern that kept them emotionally safe long before they knew you. And once you truly see that, once you recognize the human being behind the distance, you can speak to them in a way that feels safe instead of overwhelming. You can reach the part of them that has been shut down for years, not by force, but by presence. Not by pressure, but by patience. And here is the truth you must never forget. You cannot reach an avoidant deeply until you understand what they have been protecting all along. They are not protecting themselves from you. They are protecting themselves from the fear of losing themselves. And the moment they realize that you are not trying to take anything from them, but simply trying to understand them, that is the moment connection becomes possible. That is the moment their heart begins to open, not out of fear, but out of trust. If you really want to understand how to reach an avoidant person, you have to understand the emotional currency they operate with. And it is not affection, it is not high intensity, and it is definitely not emotional speeches or dramatic attempts to create closeness. Avoidants respond to emotional safety, the kind of safety that does not overwhelm them, does not invade their inner space, and does not demand quick closeness. Most people misunderstand this completely. They assume that connection grows through more emotional expression, more vulnerability, more reassurance, and more talking about feelings. But with avoidant individuals, the more you push, the more they move back. Not because they do not care, but because their nervous system reads emotional pressure as danger, even when your intention is love. For an avoidant, emotional safety is based on one core idea. They need to know they can stay themselves in the presence of another person. Think about that deeply. Their biggest fear is not intimacy itself. Their real fear is losing themselves inside intimacy. It is the fear that getting close means giving up pieces of their identity, their freedom, their independence, their inner peace, their emotional boundaries, their sense of control. The moment they feel emotional pressure, their mind activates old survival patterns. They pull away, they create distance, or they shut down completely. It is not because they want distance from you, but because they need distance from emotional expectations. This is the part where many people unintentionally damage the connection. They react to the avoidant person's withdrawal with more pursuit, more questions, more emotional conversations, more attempts to fix things or get clarity. But what feels like healthy communication to you feels like tightening tension to them. What feels like closeness to you feels like emotional crowding to them, and the cycle becomes stronger. You push, they step back. You ask for more, they give less. You want closeness, they want breathing room. It is not because they lack feelings. They actually feel very deeply. The difference is that they do not have the internal system to process emotional intensity in the same immediate way that you do. This is why your language matters more than you realize. Avoidants do not hear words the way someone with a secure or anxious attachment does. They are constantly scanning for safety cues. They listen for signals that they will not be trapped, overwhelmed, or expected to perform emotionally. So, the most meaningful words you can speak to an avoidant person are the ones that reduce pressure, strengthen their sense of autonomy, and allow them to participate at a pace they can handle. It's not distance from connection they need. It's distance from emotional urgency. This is not about tiptoeing around them. It is about understanding how their nervous system interprets emotional moments. You are not speaking to their defenses. You are speaking through them. That requires clarity, calmness, steady energy, a tone that does not rise, does not chase, and does not try to force closeness. When you approach them with emotional spaciousness, something powerful happens. The avoidant person stops bracing. They stop expecting emotional waves. They stop assuming disappointment is coming or that they will be swallowed by the moment. Their body relaxes, and when they relax, they finally begin to show up. Avoidants are not incapable of connecting. They are only incapable of connecting when they feel pushed or pressured. Remove the pressure, and you unlock the part of them that actually wants connection. It is counterintuitive, but incredibly effective. The less you push, the more they move toward you. The less you demand, the more they give. The less you chase, the more they choose you on their own. Because emotional safety is the key that opens them. Not intensity, not persuasion, not emotional arguments, just safety. And emotional safety is not passive silence. It is not pretending you have no needs. It is expressing your needs in a calm and stable way. It is saying what you feel without expecting immediate emotional feedback. It is giving them space to think without assuming their quietness is rejection. It is keeping your own emotional balance so they do not feel responsible for regulating your reaction. When you do this consistently, you become something incredibly rare for an avoidant person, a peaceful place. A place where they do not have to hide. A place where emotions are not landmines waiting to explode. A place where they are not punished for needing time or going slower than others. This is when real transformation happens. Avoidants do not open through emotional force. They open through emotional stability. They do not open through pressure. They open through presence. They do not open because you ask them to. They open because they feel safe enough to want to open. And safety is not created through dramatic lines or big romantic actions. It is built through small signals. Signals that show, I'm here, but I'm not going to overwhelm you. Signals that show, you can be yourself with me. Signals that show, connection with me will not cost you your freedom. When you speak with that kind of calm clarity, your words stop feeling like noise that their nervous system has to block out. Instead, your words become signals of safety, signals that allow the avoidant part of them to soften, breathe, and move toward you. And that shift is what you truly want. Because deep connection is never created through pressure. It is created through emotional safety. And emotional safety is the only language an avoidant person hears louder than anything else. Build that safety, and they will meet you in ways pressure could never achieve. Now, when we talk about the 3 words that impact an avoidant more deeply than I love you, we are not talking about magic. We are talking about psychology. We are talking about emotional patterns, nervous system responses, and the hidden fears that shape their behavior. For an avoidant person, I love you can sometimes create pressure. It can feel like expectation. It can feel like the beginning of emotional demands. For someone who has spent most of their life linking love to loss of autonomy, even the beauty of I love you can trigger fear instead of comfort. So the question becomes, what kind of words bypass their emotional defenses? What kind of words slip past years of self-protection and fears of being swallowed by someone else's needs? Surprisingly, the words that touch an avoidant the deepest are not poetic or dramatic. They are simple, grounding, and full of emotional freedom. They do not push. They do not pull. They do not create urgency. They open a door gently instead of dragging them inside. Those 3 words are, I get it. At first, those words seem too quiet to matter, but underneath, they deliver something far more powerful than emotional affection. They give understanding, and for an avoidant, understanding is intimacy. When you say, I get it, to them it means, you're not wrong, you're not broken, you don't need to change who you are to stay connected with me. It tells them that their need for space is not a threat. It gives them psychological room to breathe. And for an avoidant, autonomy, even more than love or reassurance, is what keeps them present. When you say, I get it, you are telling them you see their inner world without trying to control it. You acknowledge their fear without feeding it. You show that you understand their pace and their rhythm. That closeness for them is not created by emotional intensity, but by quiet trust. And trust for them is built through moments where they do not feel judged or pushed to move faster than they can. This matters because avoidant people have an extremely sensitive radar for emotional pressure. The second they feel they are disappointing you or falling short, their instinct is to retreat. But when you respond with, I get it, you neutralize that instinct. You are not feeding their fear of being overwhelmed. You are giving them room to be themselves while still staying connected to you. You are showing them that connection with you does not come with punishment or emotional storms. These words also soften the hidden shame avoidants carry, but rarely talk about. They know they pull back. They know they take longer to open up. They know their silence can be confusing, and many of them carry a quiet belief that they are too complicated or too distant to love properly. But when someone says, "I get it," with a calm and steady tone, it tells them they are not too difficult, you are not leaving, and they do not have to pretend to be different. It proves that someone finally understands the why behind what they do, not just the behavior, but the root. Avoidants do not need someone who agrees with everything they do. They do not need someone who walks around their boundaries like they are fragile glass. What they truly need is someone who understands the reason behind their patterns. Someone who does not misinterpret their need for space as a lack of care. Someone who sees that their distance is not rejection, but emotional protection. And when they feel that kind of understanding, something inside them finally calms. Someone who sees the deeper human truth beneath their protective pattern. When you say, "I get it," it tells them you are not fighting how they are wired. You are moving with it instead of against it. But let's be honest, these words are not supposed to be used as a trick. You don't say, "I get it," just to pull a different reaction from them. You say it to build emotional safety, not as a tactic, but as a real and gentle recognition of their inner world. Because when an avoidant person feels truly understood, they naturally begin to open. They naturally ease up. They naturally participate. Not because you pushed them, but because it feels safe enough for them to choose it. And that's the deeper beauty behind all of this. Autonomy is the doorway avoidants use to walk into closeness. When they feel free, they connect. When they feel pushed, they pull back. That is why these three words matter so much. They protect the one thing avoidants need most, the feeling that they are still in control of their inner space. Think about it this way. Every avoidant person has built emotional walls, but those walls are not built to keep everyone out. They are built to keep their own mind and heart stable. The moment they recognize that someone understands that, truly understands it, those walls stop acting like weapons. They turn into bridges. They slowly turn into a safe pathway that allows the avoidant to step out without feeling exposed. So, yes, "I love you" is powerful, but for an avoidant, "I get it" is grounding. It calms their system, it softens their fear, it reaches the part of them that has carried the weight of their own emotional balance for their entire life. It tells them they are not alone in this. It tells them they don't have to let go of themselves just to stay close to you. If there is one thing I want you to take from all of this, it is that understanding is the love language avoidants hear the clearest. When you use those three gentle, steady, pressure-free words, you are not only soothing their nervous system for a moment, you are creating a shift in the whole dynamic. Because once an avoidant feels understood, something powerful starts to happen inside them. The inner fight between wanting closeness but fearing closeness begins to settle. It doesn't disappear right away, but it softens. And in that softness, they begin to act differently. They show up in ways they simply could not show up before. Not because you demanded anything from them, but because you removed the emotional pressure that made everything feel unsafe. Think about what goes on inside someone who has spent most of their life feeling misunderstood. Someone who learned young that emotional needs were a burden, that vulnerability caused conflict, that space was safety. When life teaches you that closeness equals emotional overwhelm, you learn how to distance yourself from anything that feels too intense. You don't do it because you don't care. You do it because your nervous system learned that protecting yourself meant survival. So when you say, "I get it" to an avoidant, you are not just offering kindness. You are interrupting that old survival habit. You are showing them that connection doesn't have to steal their peace, that closeness doesn't have to choke them, that being with someone doesn't mean they must perform emotionally every second. You are showing them that they can be present, breathe, stay connected, and still be themselves. From that moment, their behavior begins to shift in ways many people never notice at first. You'll see them communicate a bit more, not perfectly, not constantly, but more than before. You'll see them leaning in during moments when they would normally pull away. You'll feel their messages or their tone carry more intention, more care, more depth. It will not be loud or dramatic. It will be small, but those small moves are huge for an avoidant person. They might start conversations. They might check in first. They might tell you something simple about their day, even something small that shows they are letting you in one little piece at a time. They do it because they no longer feel like opening up is a threat. They feel steady with you. They feel seen without being judged. They feel connected without losing their space. And that is when they start rewriting the old beliefs inside them. Maybe closeness does not have to hurt. Maybe connection can exist with independence. Maybe there is space for both. This is how avoidant attachment slowly restructures itself. Not through emotional pushing, but through emotional safety. Not through intensity, but through steadiness. Avoidants do not grow because someone drags them into emotional depth. They grow because someone gives them the space and freedom to find that depth on their own timeline. And the amazing thing is, once they feel connection without fear, they start linking closeness with calm instead of chaos. They start linking vulnerability with relief instead of danger. They begin trusting themselves inside the relationship, not just trusting you. And that internal change is everything. Because when an avoidant person finally feels emotionally safe, they can love in a way that is steady, loyal, and deeply committed. They do not love lightly. They do not attach carelessly. When they choose someone, they do it with intention. And once the fear softens, once the pressure fades, once their internal alarms quiet down, they begin showing a depth they have kept hidden for so long. This is why patience matters. This is why emotional space matters. You are not dealing with someone who simply wants space. You are dealing with someone whose whole emotional system was built to survive, not to connect. But survival systems can change. They can adapt. They can grow. They just need the right emotional environment to do so. And that environment is not created through intensity, emotional demands, or pressure. It is created through calmness, steadiness, and real understanding. There is also a shift that happens for you in this process. You begin realizing that relationships are not about forcing someone into a shape you prefer. They are about welcoming someone into a space where both of you can show up fully human. It's not about solving them or decoding them. It's about showing up in a way that makes connection possible. And by doing that, you pull out a version of them that they never felt safe enough to reveal before. And isn't that what real connection is? Not to change someone, but to create a space where they naturally show more openness, more trust, and more authenticity. This is what happens when you speak to an avoidant in a way that respects their need for autonomy. Their defenses relax, their walls turn into doors. Their quietness becomes a form of communication instead of a distance. They begin choosing closeness, not because they are forced, but because for the first time, they feel safe enough to want it. So understand this clearly. The moment an avoidant feels deeply understood is the moment the relationship shifts from resistance to possibility. And this shift does not happen through pressure or emotional force. It happens through intention, through awareness, through gentle patience, through words that empower rather than overwhelm. Because in the end, the real transformation inside an avoidant person does not happen when they are convinced. It happens when they are understood. And when someone finally feels understood, they stop running. Not from you, but from the fears inside themselves.